Welcome to Real Leaders with Roshini, the podcast with real talk, real questions, real insight, and we hope, real inspiration. For real. We're here at Capitol Grill in downtown Minneapolis, no stranger to real leaders, and my guest today is Miki Huntington. She is a U.S. Army retired member and a former member of the George W. Bush administration. We'll get to that in a moment. She has, for 25 years, was a helicopter pilot in the Army and also worked as a foreign affairs officer. Miki, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
I've got to talk about the Blackhawk pilot. I mean, I look at you, you're tiny, you're fit. I wouldn't necessarily think Blackhawk pilot.
Sure, and it's funny how the journey that took me to becoming a pilot. I was in the ROTC program, Reserve Officer Training Corps, while I was in college, and we have this thing called Branch Orientation Day, where we get to try out all the different jobs that the Army has available for you. And after my helicopter flight, I thought, I'm going to be an Army aviator, and that was when the dream began.
What was it like being up there? I mean, do you feel is it a powerful feeling? Is it just a feeling of, wow, this is so vast, I'm above, I'm in the clouds kind of thing?
It's such a great sense of freedom to be in the sky. I started out by flying UH-1 Huey helicopters, so some folks who might be familiar with like the Vietnam movies, that's the type of helicopter I started with. And then I transitioned to a newer helicopter called the Blackhawk. So I have about 1,100 helicopter hours at this point. And just that sense of freedom and being out in the open sky. We also did some flying at night using night vision goggles in the Army, so that was another challenge too.
Do you still go up?
I don't. Not in a helicopter anyway. My husband has a private pilot's license, so we go up for fun sometimes in an airplane, but I haven't flown a helicopter since I retired from the military.
All right, so you're retired Army. Can you ever just call them up and say, hey, I want one of your guys or gals to take me up?
Wouldn't that be nice? No, unfortunately not.
That is not a perk.
We want to be responsible to our taxpayer dollars, so unfortunately I can't do that, but I do have some friends who are pilots, and it's just great to see them soar.
All right. True. You're good and honorable. Speaking of our government and taxpayers, you did work in government for a while. You were in the George W. Bush administration and worked for his vice president, Dick Cheney. Why did you go that route?
It was such a privilege and an honor to be able to serve at the highest levels of government, and many people probably don't realize that there are quite a few military personnel that serve and support the White House. So for me, being in the Army, I applied for and was selected for a position in Vice President Cheney's National Security Affairs Office.
All right, so the movie Vice comes out. I've seen it. I understand, Miki, you have not seen this movie. It's kind of got a little controversy. It did get a bunch of award nominations. Mm-hmm. Why haven't you seen this movie?
I have to be honest. First of all, I'm not a huge movie person. And having lived the experience of serving in the Bush-Cheney White House, I don't know that I would necessarily bring myself to see the movie version of Dick Cheney as vice president. Maybe, I'd be interested in hearing what others think about the movie.
Did, it had some moments. And again, I think we can at best call it historical fiction because you don't have Lynn Cheney, Dick Cheney actually talking with the filmmaker saying, yeah, this is how it went down, right? Sure. And it does portray them at various points, especially Lynn Cheney, pretty harshly, but both of them as not necessarily savory people. So my sense is you had that closeness, you worked for him. Is it partly because you have your own memories of the two of them?
I do, and absolutely having that experience of serving in the Bush-Cheney White House for the last 2 years of their administration, I want to keep that memory in my brain the way that I experienced it. In a movie, not only is it maybe partial or political, but it offers a certain angle, it offers a certain perspective, and it is entertainment. So I want to keep that memory of my experience pure in the way that I experienced it, but maybe somewhere down the line I might watch it.
Because you did get to see a personal side of Dick and Lynn Cheney, right?
I don't know them personally as in, we're not friends going out and having a cup of coffee, but to have that interaction, it's a fairly small staff working in the vice president's office, and so having the opportunity to go to the White House Christmas parties and meeting not only Dick and Lynn Cheney, but others in that circle, what a great opportunity. And they were very gracious, and I have to say that Vice President Cheney took really, really good care of his staff.
What would you say to people who do have to work with powerful people, controversial people, and, times are changing. We've got 5 different generations in the workforce today. What's your advice for how people can handle this?
Whether you're working at the highest levels of government or in any capacity, my charge to myself and my advice to others would be just to be true to yourself and have that integrity and that honesty and serve in the best way that you know how. It doesn't matter where you worked. The White House was where I worked. It wasn't who I am. So to keep that in mind and to really be true to yourself and just perform to the best of your capability no matter where you are serving.
Was it also good training ground for what then came after in your life?
Absolutely. So I transitioned from the military into a teaching career, and I had always dreamt of becoming a teacher since I was in 4th grade. For whatever reason, that was my aspiration and my purpose in life. And I'm so excited to be in the classroom now teaching at a local community college. But I have to say that if it wasn't for the experience that I had in the military, I don't think I would be as effective in the classroom as I am now.
You have said you want to lead your life instead of your life leading you. Miki, what do you mean by that?
It took some reflection for me to come to that thought. And it's because I found myself being led by or living by my calendar. So you find yourself, you're overcommitted and you're still taking on more stuff. Or you should have said no, but you ended up saying yes to adding more stuff to that calendar. And over time, I found that I was putting my own priorities and the priorities of my family last. And so it's been a new sort of reawakening, a more intentional way of making conscious choices and decisions about how I lead my life.
You've lived all over the world. You've worked in a lot of different places. What do you take from some different cultures or other types of people who are very different from you and have brought into your life?
I've been very fortunate to live and work in so many different places. I was born and raised in Japan, so Japanese was my first language. English is my second language.
That's amazing.
It is, and I just, it opens you up to that connection in the brain that helps you to allow you to learn foreign languages and to make that connection. And so I always encourage people as much as possible, get out there and travel, meet different people, explore new cultures and new foods, and it brings us closer together as people. We have so much more in common than we probably recognize. So get out there and experience it.
Okay. Experience, passion, music comes into that world, right? And entertainment. If you had an anthem for your life, is there a song or an artist that would sing it or name of a song that is the anthem to Miki Huntington's life?
Sure. So I'm going to cheat and offer 1.5 answers. So my favorite artist, right, of all time is by far Prince. Very first concert I ever saw at 14 years old in San Francisco. But in terms of an anthem, I have to kind of give a shout out to a pretty current song that's out called High Hopes by Panic at the Disco. And just having that, you may not have come from much, you might not have any resources, but you have those high hopes and you keep pursuing those dreams and one day you're going to get there. So it's a really upbeat, positive, fun song, and I hope to embrace that positivity.
I love that. High hopes. The military, very different now from when you got in.
I think it is in many ways, particularly related to the demographics of who is in the military and the opportunities that it offers, technology and travel. And there's so many great things that young people can take from their service in the military. But in the sense of that honor and integrity and those basics, it's very much the same, I think, in many ways.
Do you think, though, it is more difficult for the military to recruit right now?
Yes and no. Yes and no. I think that because there are so many opportunities and so many different careers available to our young people, that to continue to be an appealing career choice, to continue to support serving our nation, serving our country, representing our nation around the world in a way that makes sense, right? The military also is going to have to continue to adapt, for sure.
What would be your line right now if there was a young person sitting in here who is kind of on the fence about this decision? Would you say you got to go for it?
If I had a young person sitting across from me saying, I'm thinking about joining the military, what do you think? My first question is always why. Having that why behind making that decision is really important. I'll be honest, I joined the military with very little knowledge other than I wanted to do something to serve my country. I ended up staying 25 years, not because necessarily I loved the military service, but because I loved the people I was serving with.
And you were in those Blackhawk helicopters. How cool. What would one of your political science students say about you today?
Wow. I hope that I'm able to share and bring that real world experience into the classroom. I try to mix things up a lot. And so our classroom sessions are just over an hour long. And we have conversations, small group discussions, lecture maybe, me sharing some worldwide experience, and yet also bringing in very different perspectives. So being open to different ways of looking at things, and even respectfully disagreeing sometimes and pushing back and challenging one another, I think that's what's most important. And that's what I want to sort of really emphasize in my classroom, is to be able to have that dialogue, that conversation, and even if we don't agree, to have that respectful exchange of ideas.
If you could bring any current Politico into your poli-sci class for students to meet and learn from, who would that be? Anywhere in the world, from anywhere in the world.
It would be fascinating right now with all of the things happening with the Brexit, to talk to Prime Minister Theresa May.
Wow, she's not had the easiest last 6 months.
Yeah, but I also recognize that local politicians make a huge difference too. So we've invited into my political science classrooms many of the local Minneapolis politicians and Minnesota politicians, and that's been great for the students to see sort of the accessibility and to see politicians in real life, and that they can engage with them and connect with them and have conversations with them.
Love it. Well, I'd love to be in your class for Theresa May.
You're welcome.
If you get her. What does Miki Huntington do for fun?
I still have that travel bug in me, so I love to travel. My husband and I enjoy going out and exploring as many places as we can and adding to our bucket list.
I love it. Well, Miki, thank you so much for spending time with us today on Real Leaders with Roshini. And until next time, keep it real.